From the Daily Reporter, this is Ethan Duran. Welcome to Blues and Blueprints, a podcast about construction and development across Wisconsin. I'm Ethan Duran of the Daily Reporter, and this is the Brews and Blueprints podcast. I'm here with Chris Mambu Rasch, the Executive Director of Building Advantage. How are you doing today, Chris?
I'm doing great. Thanks, Ethan.
Thanks for being on. Let's do a little bit of level setting and talk about Building Advantage and its role in the industry. Can you tell me more about your organization?
Sure thing. And thanks to you and the Daily Reporter for having this forum. We appreciate being on it. So Building Advantage, we are a joint labor management council for the union commercial construction industry. So our job is to advance union construction and to make sure that our contractors have work and the tradespeople that they employ are working as well. So we do this in a myriad of ways around workforce, labor relations, policy advocacy, developer outreach. So our job is to work on behalf of union construction for the industry.
There are a lot of projects on the horizon, and building the workforce is a big question for the industry, and union construction is definitely has a big involvement in it. Can you talk a little bit about that need for the workforce and why it's crucial at this time?
Sure. Well, there's an unprecedented amount of work that's happening in the construction industry right now. We had a record number of folks employed. I think the most recent numbers in April were up to nearly 5,000 construction jobs, more than a year ago. And then, basically in the Milwaukee metropolitan area, which is the area that Building Advantage is focused on, there was about a 5% increase in the number of construction workers. So workforce is definitely an issue just because of the demographics that are out there in terms of the number of folks that are available. As well as the amount of work that's available. So it's not just the work that's today, it's the work that we're anticipating and industry experts are predicting is that there's going to be another, just nationwide, another 500,000 new craft workers that are going to be needed just this year to meet the construction demand. So the workforce is a big concern and concentration for the industry, I would say. But that said, I would say every trade that I'm talking to, every trade union has really a record amount of apprentices, and each trade has a list of people that are ready to be hired. And I think that's a signal that when you have good paying jobs and careers with benefits, that you're an attractive place to be. And it makes recruiting people into those careers a lot easier. So certainly we are focused on it like many others. But I talk on the daily with folks from different contractors and unions, and the list that we have to still enter into the trades is really strong. So I'm feeling really good and hopeful about that.
That's good to hear. And you did answer part of the question. I was going to ask, what are some of the ongoing efforts to find more workers in your neck of the woods there?
Yeah, with Building Advantage, one of our focuses is on marketing the industry. So we do that both from a workforce perspective to get a diverse, qualified workforce into the trades, and we do that in a myriad of ways, including paid advertising and Google ads and social media that are targeted towards young adults, and so that's one way. Also, so we spend those advertising dollars, promoting the industry as well. So promoting the benefits of union construction in the to a number of audiences, but specifically in the workforce space to young individuals, to talk about how it's a great career. It's not just a job. It's not a plan B. It can be a plan A for so many folks. So we spend money advertising that. like I said, social media. We do radio. We're doing Spanish radio this summer, reaching out to diverse audiences. So we're looking to get more Latinos to take a look at union construction. And frankly, we've done a good job at that. Their numbers in union construction as a percentage represent their overall percentage in the greater Milwaukee region. So we've done that. We work with the Daily Reporter, of course, too, in promoting the industry in a number of ways. So we're really, focused on that sort of stuff.
I like the bilingual angle, and I think that's, I wish I took more classes in Spanish just to make that a little more viable for our paper as well. Not saying that's something that's set in stone right now, but it would be a great addition for a lot of media. Just speaking from my end here.
Yeah, don't we all? I mean, it's a growing workforce. So, in my former life, I talked about all the young individuals, like in the 53215 zip code. There's over 5,000 kids under the age of 5. It's the youngest community that we have in the state, and many of them are bilingual. So, our folks have made some investments in that. I know with most of the trades, they have bilingual organizers involved in their organization and doing that. So, yeah, we've been quite successful, like I mentioned, in that space. So, yeah, we have Spanish radio that we're doing. We'll be at Mexican Fiesta again and reaching out to our Latino brothers and sisters to continue to get them interested in union construction.
Can I ask, how about the career fair? Is that in the cards this year as well? I remember going last year and it was a lot of fun.
Yeah, absolutely. We're really proud of that event that we have at the Fiserv Forum in the first week of November. And so we'll be doing that again. We're just looking to lock that date in with the Deer District. But we're really proud of what we've done. We've created the largest career fair for high school students in the entire state. And it's for union construction. So that's such a really cool thing for our industry. And we moved the career fair from the suburbs into Milwaukee to make it more accessible. And I think from the folks that I've talked to is we've really nailed that, that it's a much more diverse crowd in terms of the students that are having access to learning more about the construction industry and what each job and trade is involved with. And so we'll be continuing to do that. We're over 1,000 kids now last year. And these are juniors and seniors that are coming from Milwaukee area schools, roughly about 40 different schools. So we're looking to continue to grow that. So hopefully we'll be at 1,200 or 1,300 this year.
With how packed it was last year, I could totally believe you that this is probably the biggest high school age career fair in the state. Let's shift around a little bit. There are some big federal and state allocations coming in on the horizon, not just with some of the bigger federal acts like IIJA and IRA, but from the state as well. We just ran a story about electric vehicle chargers, for example. Could you speak a little bit about those allocations coming up and what it means for the industry?
Yeah, well, they're right now, the work that is happening and the work that is on the horizon is unprecedented. I want to be cautious first in talking about that because I know there are some spots where it's a matter of timing and maybe we got some contractors that aren't at full capacity, but really, and so we're always mindful of that. We want to see that timing issue resolve. But I would say, moving forward, it's really a generational amount of work that we are seeing or about to see. And that's pretty exciting and great stuff for our community and for our union brothers and sisters and for our union contractors. So there are so many projects happening right now that may not even get noticed. Everyone hears about Microsoft and that gets a lot of publicity, rightfully slow because of the 2,300 union construction workers that'll be on that project. But there's also the We Energies project tied to that, the $350 million for the upgrades to the system. And those will be all union jobs. There's the other upgrades that We Energies is making as well, with some of the transformation from coal to gas, including there's another plant up in Sheboygan that's doing that. There's the river estuary cleanup that's like almost 300 million, I think $275 million. There's the road construction. We all know that there's about $5 billion statewide from the federal laws that are coming in. The lead lateral replacement, Wisconsin and Milwaukee specifically, is one of the areas where the federal government is asking us to do that in 10 years. And that lead lateral stuff is a lot of work. I could go on. There's broadband. There's a couple $100 million that have already been allocated, but there's another $1 billion in broadband money that's coming from the federal government via the Public Service Commission and the BEAD program. Don't ask me to name that acronym, but it's the Broadband Equity Access and something program. So over the next 5 years, starting in early 2025, they'll be allocating over $1 billion statewide. So there are so many things happening that maybe the community doesn't realize why they're happening, and they're happening because of the investment that's coming from our federal government. I can give you another example if you want to, not to go on about this, but the Inflation Reduction Act, we're just starting to see the impact of those investments and what that's happening. And I talked to a developer recently about how he is building in the tax credits and the tax deductions into the capital stack and the financing of his deal. And then incentives and tax credits total $33 million. And this project, given a number of issues that are going on out in the community with interest rates as well as increased construction costs, may not happen otherwise. But the Inflation Reduction Act is helping provide a path for this project to get built. So there's a lot of exciting things that are going to continue to happen for the next generation because of the investments that our government is making in our outdated infrastructure.
Yeah, and I appreciate the insight on how some of that federal money, if it doesn't already boost the project, it helps offset some of the excess cost and gets it off the ground in the end. And as we know, I guess a big part of any project or development is just keeping the momentum going as well. Speaking of infrastructure, we could jump into this as well. I know there's an ongoing conversation in Milwaukee about the Interstate 794, sort of a debate, if you will, whether to get rid of a little over a mile of the freeway, stretching from the Hone Bridge to, I want to say, a little just past Water Street. And I don't think I would want to ask you on the record what your position is, but there are definitely pros and cons for construction experts when they're choosing between, demolition of the roadway and turning that into vertical construction, or, maintaining the road as it is and maybe modifying it for commuters and whatnot. What are the pros and cons in that regard in the eyes of the construction industry? Take us through the different scenario paths, if you will.
Sure. I guess we're going to be a little bit on record, given this is a podcast that will go out to a number of folks. But I appreciate that. And it is a big issue and one that we've been considering. So what I would say right now is Building Advantage hasn't taken a position. But I would say generally we support projects that are good for the community and put our union members to work. With 794, I would say, not all highway projects are the same, or interstate projects are the same. We Building Advantage supported the expansion of I-94 East West, and look forward to that project starting, I guess, in a year or so. That said, 7094 is different. No one would build that interstate today. And the Hone Bridge is going to need to be down in 30 years. So I have to admit, personally, I like what the urbanists are saying and the vision for what they've laid out for the city, and with the idea of taking down 7094 and the development that will happen as a result of that and the opening up of those parcels. To me, it's about the work for the people I represent, and we're interested in creating a thriving city as well, and that's even more vibrant than what we have. So I believe likely that the teardown will lead to more work, that there will be the teardown work, the new connections to the interstate, a boulevard to build it out, not to mention the billion-plus development work and the millions of hours that will employ our union trades members as a result of that development work. So I think there's a lot of side. That said, I don't want to get ahead of the process in DOT and the input that they're collecting in terms of how this is actually going to impact the streets around downtown and in other areas, as folks have to find other ways to get to their office or get through downtown. So I don't want to get ahead of that process. And then I'd also say if they can't overcome the engineering issue with the going over the water, and not having the bridge go up and down, or a bridge going up and down and clogging traffic, I'm not sure any of us can really be for that. So if they can overcome that engineering issue, then I think all things considered, it means more work for the folks I represent, and so it'd be something that we're for.
I see. And yes, you're right. It is still an ongoing conversation. I think it's just one of the options WSDOT is exploring right now.
Sure thing. Yeah, there's just a lot of nuances to it. And I think, I haven't seen anyone jumping, from the community and the leaders opposed to it, because I think people are waiting for the process to play out. And so that would be the same with Building Advantage. But I would say there's a lot of upside in terms of the hours worked in construction that will come out of it if it is torn down.
Well, we'll wait and see what happens with that. Speaking of, and we were just talking a little bit about infrastructure right now. I know you mentioned, the Microsoft data center, for example, is just,
sure,
a highlight of the.
It's amazing.
Well, how do you feel about it? What does it mean for Wisconsin construction and the other mega projects going on and driving construction demand?
Yeah, well, it's huge for our community, for Southeast Wisconsin. And so there's the obvious $3.3 billion investment that's going to happen, that is happening right now, and the 2,300 union construction jobs that will be employed by our two GCs on the job, and then the subs. So, it's a catalytic development that's happening, and this is really just the start. So this is just 2 data centers. We should be cautious here, but there's likely more. And it could, word is, it could, I don't think I'm sharing anything that hasn't been public, but it could be more, and it could be up to 5 data centers. So this is going to generate employment for union members and others over the next 10 years or more for the community. I mean, the Microsoft thing is like building a new Milwaukee Public Museum every year, basically, for the next 15 years. And that's just for the current announced investment that they're making. If they make more, there's more. So there's literally going to be about 1,000 electricians on that job, probably just as many pipe fitters from the steam fitters, plumbing, and sheet metal folks on that job. So it's going to have a profound and compound impact on the union industry, but as well as our broader community. There's going to be other ancillary development that happens as a result of it. There's going to be additional housing that needs to get built as well. there's the energy upgrades that We Energies and others are going to have to make and are making as a result of that. So this is such an exciting development, and it's just one of several, I guess, mega projects that are happening. We have the $450 million battery facility out in northwest Milwaukee that's happening. Is another example of a large project. We have the stuff going on in Jefferson with Kikkoman and Marina. We have NM making, a $500 million investment. That used to be the largest investment we would ever see in the private space, and now we're seeing things sixfold larger than that right now. So, and then there's hints of a microchip plant up in the town of Port, which would be even larger from a money standpoint and from a worker standpoint than the Microsoft development. So it's really exciting, and we're, as an industry in the union industry, thrilled to be able to meet the demands, the workforce demands that we currently have with our current relationships and developers and owners, but as well as on these large ones as well. And we think we're quite uniquely situated to be able to meet the workforce demands. And because how we get organized, we're just organized better with the investments that management and labor have made in the workforce space, in the joint apprenticeship training centers, to be able to upscale when needed. And we're doing that. And so it's a exciting time with all these large projects, including Microsoft, obviously.
Okay. And speaking of workforce, I believe Milwaukee was recently named a workforce hub by the Biden administration, alongside with upstate New York, Michigan, and Philadelphia. What does this mean on your end? Does this help union construction as well?
Yeah, Milwaukee was named, as you mentioned, one of the 4 hubs under the bipartisan infrastructure law, though it wasn't really bipartisan, but still has that name. So, and Big Step was named as the workforce hub intermediary. So, and there are our sister organizations. So, the hub is in relation to a couple things. One, it's around the new energy, training clean energy folks and workers around clean energy and electric vehicle charging for the apprentices for that. That was first mentioned a couple months ago from the Department of Energy. That Big Step got that grant. And so there haven't been any dollars associated with this most recent announcement, but rest assured there will be some dollars, I believe, as well, that come to our way, our community's way. And it's about working with state and local partners to expand union career opportunities for our residents, particularly those that are just in disenfranchised communities. So we're excited about the union opportunity with this being named as a workforce hub, but also as seeing it as an opportunity to make sure that everyone in our community gets the benefit from these investments that are happening. And so so excited to see that happen. So it's going to be in the electric vehicle space, but also in the lead lateral space that I mentioned earlier about the fact that we have to now get rid of the lead laterals for the 65,000 households that we have in Milwaukee. So that's something like, what, quick at math, 65,000 is 6,500 a year over 10 years. So that's a lot of work. We're probably talking about 20 a day have to be removed. So that's a several person crew just on each one of those replacements. So that's a lot of work that's going to go union. And so we appreciate the Biden administration for naming Milwaukee as one of those hubs.
All right. Is there anything else you want to talk about? Anything that's crucial to know while we're recording here?
Well, we just want to say thank you, Ethan, to your team, to the Daily Reporter team, Joe. Appreciate what you do. Just to end, I would say I'm excited for our community and for the future of union construction. There's a lot of positive things out there to be hopeful about right now. That said, that it is hard work, and there's really a lot more that we could always be doing. But we have a lot to celebrate right now. And so looking forward to working with our union contractors and our union tradespeople that they employ to keep it going.
Well, thank you. We really appreciate working with you guys as well. And again, thanks for being on the show, and it was good talking to you.
Thanks so much.